us more time for testing. So Wizardry, getting it to run in that 48K was a significant challenge. But it turned out to be very handy, because then as more people got the extra 16K card, and in particular when we moved to the Commodore 64, which had the extra 16K, we were able to do things like use that extra 16K as a disk cache, which radically reduced the amount of disk wear. Because when Wizardry was running a combat, it was swapping in code and data like crazy. Was the only way to get it to work. And having a RAM cache for the disk really made things run about 50 times faster.
We've talked about how you were playing these Play-Doh role-playing games, but I'm wondering, were you also influenced, or had you played the tabletop pen and paper versions of Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, sure. Played that when I was in college.
Were you the dungeon master?
No. I tried it, but I wasn't that good at it. But yeah, I had the original little box with the original rules.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a couple questions in about Wizardry. The first one. One thing I always liked about it was that you create that whole party of adventurers. A lot of the other games, especially modern ones, you just have the single character, and you have the NPCs and all. I was just kind of wondering, what are your thoughts on this? How did you imagine this? I mean, was the thought all along that one person would control all of the characters, or were you thinking more of trying to replicate that tabletop Dungeons and Dragons experience with a group of your friends playing?
I think it was a bit of both, actually. Since I had grown up playing D&D, you don't play D&D by yourself. You play it with people. You have a party. So that would just be a very natural concept for this kind of role-playing game, and it just turned out, six characters. That means you have a front three and a back three. It just was, very relatively easy to do, and we had, we could do it, so we did it.
You think that kind of game would hold up today, where you had to create so many characters at the beginning?
I have no idea, but I know that back in the old days, gamers were real gamers, and they weren't pussies like the kids are today. So,
I salute you. Speaking of that, one of the things I remember about Wizardry is making your own map. You got some graph paper out and you did this, and even in the manual, it says mapping is one of the most important skills that successful Wizardry players possess. Of course, now we've got all these auto maps and everything. You think something's been lost? With all the auto mapping tools, you actually preferred you think there was something like that was part of the fun, right? Was making your own maps. It wasn't just this hindrance or technological necessity.
Well, it definitely was a technological necessity. I mean, we didn't have room to do an automatic mapping feature. But that said, again, when you're playing with your buddies on a tabletop, the GM doesn't give you a map. You have to draw it out. So, I mean, we wanted to recreate and get the same sort of feeling that you would when you were playing with your friends, even if you were playing by yourself, and that's one of the aspects of it.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like there's definitely been a massive shift in the, skill set or background of gamers, since the days of Wizardry. It just seems like, people aren't willing to, to think that much. They just want something they can pick up and start playing without a lot of thought and reading a manual. preparation of any kind. Have you noticed a trend like that?
I don't really think that's what's the right way to say this? I don't consider that to be a serious